Hello and welcome. Today we will discuss another chapter of Standard 6 Grammar for English, and that chapter is conjunctions. Now, before we start conjunctions, there are a certain things to know which are very important. Okay. So, first we have to know what is a clause and what is a phrase. Now again, clause has two separate divisions, independent clause and dependent clause. So I will explain you everything. Now let us see what is clause and phrase. Clause. A clause is a part of a sentence. Now what is a sentence? Earlier in the last grammar video we have discussed what a sentence is. A sentence is a group of words which is arranged in a particular manner so as to tell us about a thing or which has some meaning. Okay. A clause is a part of a particular sentence. Now what is a clause? Clause is a group of words in a sentence which contains a subject and a verb. So clause meaning it is again like a sentence, a group of words which contains subject, which is the hero of the sentence, and a verb, that is the action verb. What the subject is doing is the verb. So clause contains subject and verb. In example 1 you can see over here the boy is playing. Boy is the subject, is playing is my verb. So the boy is playing is my clause. Again in the second example, Sarah smiled. Sarah is my subject and smiled is my verb. So you will notice that a clause is a group of words which has a subject and a verb. Clear? Now, a clause is a set of words that makes a complete sense on its own and does not require any additional or helping words to support it. For example, Jim reads. Jim is my subject, reads is my verb. So, through this group of words, that is through these two words, one is my subject Jim and the other is my verb reads, we are able to understand what Jim is doing, right? So we can understand that Jim is performing the action of reading. So clause does not have to contain too many words in order to make it complete. It can contain only two words, a subject and a verb, to make it complete and understandable. Okay. So in the last example, the boy is playing. Similarly, Sarah smiled. Now we can understand what the boy is doing. The boy is performing the action of playing and Sarah is performing the action of smiling. So the clause are all a group of words which are complete in themselves and they do not require any additional helping words to complete them. Now, a sentence may consist of more than one clause, right? Let us see the example. I looked everywhere but my dog was gone. So what did we learn in clause? We learnt that clause has a subject and a verb and it will be complete in itself. Now in this particular sentence, I looked everywhere but my dog was gone. There are two parts in this sentence. Rather, There are two clauses in this sentence. What are they? I looked. So I is the subject, looked is the verb. The sentence is complete in itself. My dog was gone. Dog is the subject and gone is my verb. Second clause. So see, the two clauses in the above sentence are I looked and the dog was gone. So a sentence can consist of more than one clause or more than two clauses, or it can contain multiple clauses. So what is the meaning of clause then? Clause is a group of words which has a subject and a verb, and the meaning of that particular group of word is complete in itself. Is that clear? Now coming to independent and dependent clauses, the two types of clauses. What is an independent clause? An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. An independent clause is a sentence. So, again, clause we know already. It has a subject and a verb, and it does not require any other additional word to support it. The meaning of the clause is complete in itself. It can stand alone on its own. Independent clause is again the same thing, and it expresses a complete thought, and independent clause is also sometimes a complete sentence. It is a sentence with additional information. So, if I say in this example, Jim studied. So, Jim studied would have been a clause. Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz is an independent clause, which is also a full complete sentence which gives us a complete thought that what is Jim doing? Jim is studying in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. So this independent clause is a complete meaningful sentence. Now what is a dependent clause? A dependent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. Please remember, dependent clause, just like a clause, contains a subject and a verb but does not express a complete thought. Dependent clause cannot be a sentence. So what is the major difference between an independent clause and a dependent clause? Independent clause has a complete meaning. Dependent clause does not have a complete meaning. It cannot express a complete thought. Example of a dependent clause, just see below. When Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz. Now, if I end the sentence here, when Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz, is the meaning of the sentence complete? No. Why? Because we don't know what happened when he studied. This thought is incomplete. So, do we understand that Jim studied in the sweet shop? During that time what happened? When? So, when we write when Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz, this particular sentence, it has a subject Jim, it has a verb studied, it has other words to support it. It is a sentence, but it is not a complete meaningful sentence because it is left halfway in the middle. We are stopping in the middle. We are not completing the sentence. So, independent clause has a subject, has a verb, expresses a complete thought. Dependent clause has a subject, has a verb, but does not express a complete thought. However, the sentence needs additional support for completing its meaning. Which sentence? The sentence of the dependent clause. For example, we have taken the same example as earlier. When Jim studied in the sweet shop for his chemistry quiz, it was very noisy. So we are adding the extra information. It was very noisy. That is what is completing the entire sentence. Hence, the dependent clause cannot stand alone on its own. So, dependent clause will have a word before it, and that word will be our conjunction, which I am going to teach you later in this video, which is our main topic of discussion. Okay, so just remember, independent clause which has a subject and a verb, and it is complete in its meaning. It is a sentence, complete sentence. Dependent clause has a subject, has a verb, but the meaning is not complete at all. So clause is done. Now coming to phrase. Now what is a phrase? A phrase is again a group of words in a sentence that does not contain a subject and a verb. In other words, in a sentence, one part with subject and a verb is a clause, while the rest of it without those two parts is a phrase. So phrase, it neither has a subject nor a verb, neither of it has, and it cannot support its own self, it cannot have a meaning of its own. Okay, so example C: on the wall, in the water, over the horizon. These are all phrases, these are all group of words that we add to a complete sentence or add to a particular sentence in order to add more information to a particular sentence. Okay, but there is also an exception, that phrase may sometimes either contain a subject or a verb. Now at a time, phrase will not contain both the subject and the verb. No, if it contains both the subject and the verb together, then it becomes a clause. Okay, but phrase, it can have a subject, or it can have a verb, or it may not have either. Okay, so see example, when a subject is there in the phrase, the stinking white dog. So we are talking about a dog. This group of word, it has a particular subject, but what the subject is doing we don't know, so it does not have a verb, hence it is not complete in its meaning. Similarly, expecting the unfortunate. Who is expecting? Expecting is an action, it is a verb, but a verb and action cannot be done by nobody. Somebody has to do that action, right? So who is that somebody is again not informed in this particular sentence. So this again becomes a phrase. So both these groups of words, the stinking white dog, which has only a noun, that is a subject, and expecting the unfortunate, which only has a verb, both are incomplete, both do not express a particular meaning, and they both are phrases. Is this clear? Okay, let us move on. A phrase is different from a dependent clause. Now we have to understand what is the difference between a phrase and a dependent clause. Now children, by now you have understood what is a clause, what is an independent clause, and what is a dependent clause. Now let me again revise with you. What is a clause? Clause is a group of words which has a sentence and which has a subject and a verb, and it is complete in its own way. Independent clause, it has a subject, it has a verb, and it performs a function of a sentence. It is a sentence in itself. What is a dependent clause? It has a subject, it has a verb, but the meaning of the dependent clause is not complete. Correct? And what is a phrase? Phrase is a group of words which does not have a verb, which does not have a subject. The meaning is not complete, or sometimes it may have a subject only, or it may have a verb only, but it again is not complete in its own self. Correct? So by now you must have understood the difference between a phrase and a dependent clause. See, a phrase is different from a dependent clause because, unlike the dependent clause, it generally lacks either a subject or a verb or both. So, as we said, dependent clause has a subject, has a verb, but meaning is incomplete. Phrase, it can either have a subject or a verb. So both subject and verb cannot be present in a phrase. Dependent, both subject and verb are present in a phrase. But in both the cases of phrase and dependent clause, the meaning is incomplete. So there is one similarity between phrase and dependent clause and one difference between phrase and dependent clause. What is the similarity? Similarity is both are incomplete. And what is the difference? Difference is dependent clause has both the subject and verb. Independent clause, phrase may either have a subject or a verb, or it may have neither. So see this example phrase, the long winding road. We are talking about a road, but we are not seeing what the road is doing. There is no verb to support the subject. Okay, subject meaning road. Dependent clause, before the trial ended. So see, trial is the subject, ended is the verb, but before the trial ended, what happened before the trial ended? Is the meaning complete? No, the meaning is incomplete. So both the phrase and the dependent clause, the meaning is incomplete, but you will see that in the phrase we only have the subject road, but in the dependent clause we have both the subject trial and the verb ended. Correct? Understood? Right. Now coming to the main topic of our discussion, conjunctions. So I had to give you this information on clause and phrase because in order to understand conjunctions, children, you have to be aware about a phrase and a clause. Okay. Now conjunctions, you have been doing it since a very young age, right? And you are already in 6th standard. So by now you know that conjunctions are words which join. They are joining words, right? So let us see the definition. Conjunctions are used to join clauses, phrases and words together for constructing sentences, right? So conjunctions, they act as a bridge. Okay, they act as a bridge between clauses, phrases and words together for making sentences complete. So conjunctions are actually joining these particular groups of words. Conjunctions make a link between or among words or groups of words to other parts of the sentence and show a relationship between or among them. So conjunctions, say suppose there are two parts of a sentence and you want to join those two groups of words or those two sentences, then you will use a conjunction, and that conjunction will act as a link, act as a connection, act as a bridge between those two groups of words. Let us see a few examples for you to understand what conjunctions are. See, Alex and Robin are playing together. Over here, Alex is a boy, Robin is also a boy, probably they are friends, and we have used and, the conjunction and, to join Alex and Robin together. Okay, so Alex and Robin are playing together. Alex plays well, but Robin plays better than him. Again, we are using the conjunction but to join these two sentences. Which are the two sentences? Alex plays well, Robin plays better than him. I play cricket, Robin plays football. Again, we are using the conjunction and to join these two particular groups of words or these two particular clauses. See, I play cricket in itself is a complete sentence. Robin plays football again is a complete sentence. I play, Robin plays. These are clauses. So you need to see which are the phrases, which are the clauses, dependent clauses, independent clauses in order to understand the lesson better. When he was sick, I went to see him. So see, when he was sick, if I stop the sentence there. Is the sentence meaning complete? No. But you will find that the sentence includes a subject he and a verb was. But I am beginning the sentence with when he was sick. So this becomes a dependent clause. And the dependent clause is incomplete in itself. That is why we have added I went to see him in order to make the sentence complete. So when he was sick, comma, I went to see him. Right? Okay. Now let us see types of conjunctions. There are three types: coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions, and subordinating conjunctions. Now coming to coordinating conjunction. So conjunction meaning words which join clause, phrase, sentences together. Three types: coordinating, correlative, subordinating. Okay, coordinating conjunction. Most commonly used single word conjunctions to join independent clauses of equal level or equal rank together. Independent clauses, children, are also known as sentences. Please remember this. So coordinating conjunctions, they add, they join two sentences of equal importance, of equal level, of equal rank. They also add meaning to the whole sentence. Let us come directly to the example. See, Rocky, my orange tomcat, loves having his head scratched but hates getting his claws trimmed. Now, there are two independent clauses in this sentence. Rocky, my orange tomcat, loves having his head scratched. So, scratching the head is one action. Rocky hates getting his claws trimmed. Second action. Both these actions, scratching of the head, getting his claws trimmed. Claws means his nails. Cutting his nails is also very, he does not like. Rocky does not like getting his nails cut. Okay. So Rocky is a cat. Cat has two actions. One, if somebody is scratching his head, he loves it. And if somebody is cutting his nails, he hates it. So, if I am joining these two independent clauses, these two sentences together, these two actions are of the same level. They are not dependent on each other. Scratching of the head does not depend upon cutting the nails, and cutting the nails does not depend upon scratching the head. These two are separate actions. These two actions are not related to each other, but these two actions are related to Rocky. These two actions are related to Rocky's body. One is the head scratching and the other is the nail cutting. Okay, so these two actions are equal in their level. Both these actions, they deal with Rocky's body. That is why it is of same importance. These two actions are of the same type, you can say. That is grooming Rocky, making Rocky feel good. So one action, the scratching of the head, Rocky loves, and cutting of the nails, Rocky hates. So we have used the conjunction but in order to join these two sentences, and these two sentences, they convey two opposite meanings. One, which Rocky loves, that is the scratching of the head, and second, the action which Rocky hates, cutting of the nails. Okay, so we have used the conjunction but in order to join these two independent clauses, or these two these two sentences which are of equal importance. So the various conjunctions that we use are and, but, nor, or, yet, so, for. So we can use an acronym. Acronym is a short form abbreviation. If you remember fanboys, so F stands for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. These are your coordinating conjunctions, fanboys. Okay, very easy to remember. So equal emphasis to two main clauses. Main clauses means independent clauses. Okay. Main clause plus we have the coordinating conjunction plus we have another main clause. So if we take this example of Rocky, my orange tomcat loves having his head scratched is the first main clause. Then we have the coordinating conjunction. See over here, you will get to see main clause, and from Rocky till scratched. Rocky, my orange tomcat, loves having his head scratched is my first main clause. Then we have the coordinating conjunction but, and then we have the second main clause. What is that? Hates getting his claws trimmed. Right? So this is the pattern which we generally follow for a coordinating conjunction. When a coordinating conjunction adds two sentences together, when it joins two sentences together. Now coming to the second example, it will be better for you to understand. The bowl of fresh vegetable stew is hot and delicious. So both hot and delicious, they are related to our taste. Only when we taste the soup with our tongue in the mouth, we will understand whether it is hot or cold, and we will understand whether it is delicious or very bad to taste. So, bowl of fresh vegetable stew is hot, bowl of fresh vegetable stew is delicious. If we have to join these two sentences together, we will just put an and in the middle, and then we will have the sentence with the coordinating conjunction as the bowl of fresh vegetable stew is hot and delicious. Right? So let us look at a few more examples of coordinating conjunctions. See, you can eat your cake with a spoon or a fork. So spoon and fork are both two types of cutlery. Okay, and the coordinating conjunction that we have used is or. So it is joining these two sentences, these two independent clauses of equal rank. Similarly, Bill refuses to eat peas, nor will he touch carrots. So carrot, peas and carrot both are vegetables. They are of the equal rank, equal level, and Bill, this boy, does not like either peas or carrots. His two favorite sports, football and tennis. So sports again, football and tennis are of equal rank. They are both sports, and it is joined with the coordinating conjunction and. I wanted to go to the beach, but Mary refused. So I and my friend Mary. Okay, so me and Mary, we are friends. We are both of equal level, but she refused. That is, Mary did not want to go, I wanted to go. Clear? I am allergic to cats, yet I have 3 of them. So, again we are joining these two sentences with yet, and this is a coordinating conjunction. Coming to correlative conjunction. Correlative conjunctions are multi-word conjunctions that work the same as coordinating conjunctions, joining independent clauses of equal importance, and most commonly used correlative conjunctions are word pairs. So, correlative conjunction is nothing but another type of coordinating conjunction, you can say, but these are multi-word conjunctions, meaning uh, in the coordinating conjunction we have seen fanboys, for, and, but, or, so, yet, right? These are single word conjunctions, but correlative conjunctions are multi-word. They have more than one word or more than two words, and they are used in pairs. Okay, so they again join independent clauses of equal rank or status, and the word pairs are not only but also, both, and, neither, nor, either, or. So if I am using a correlative conjunction, say suppose a particular pair, not only but also, so in a particular sentence I cannot only use not only. When I am using not only, obviously I have to use but also as well. Okay, so coordinating, just like coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions also join independent clauses of equal importance, but they are bigger in the sense than coordinating conjunctions, in the sense that coordinating conjunctions are single worded, correlative conjunctions are multi word. Clear? Okay. Also, like the coordinating conjunctions, the correlative conjunctions add to the meaning of the sentence of which they are a part. So, let us see some examples along with the meanings. So, if I am using the pair either or, the meaning of this is it's an alternative or it's a warning. See this example. We could either take a bus or share the taxi. So I am given a choice, an alternative between a bus and a taxi. So bus and taxi are of the same rank. They are both means of transport, and I am joining these two along with either or. Neither nor, it is a negative addition. Negative addition meaning when you are not doing more than one thing. Example, just see. She neither told her parents nor her friends about her accident. So her parents and her friends are of the equal status. Okay, they are both related to her, and she has not told about her accident to her parents and her friends. So it's a negative addition, meaning she has not done a particular thing. And what is that particular thing? Not told about her accident to two people, one the parents and other the friends. Coming to not only but also, it is an addition. How is it an addition? Let us see the example. He lied not only to me but also to the headmaster. So he has lied to two people, me and the headmaster. So me and headmaster, we are both humans, we are both related to the person he, and he has lied to both of us. Again, both and meaning again addition. So I have both done what? My homework and tidied my room. So I have done these two actions. Okay, so correlative conjunctions always appear in pairs of words. They are multi-worded conjunctions. Now, one thing which you have to remember regarding correlative conjunctions is the subject verb agreement. Now, what is subject verb agreement? Subject verb agreement is when you are using a singular subject, verb should also be singular. When you are using a plural subject, verb should be plural. So, this is the simplest way in which subject verb agreement can be understood. Now, just remember that for correlative conjunctions, there is a particular rule to observe. And what is that? The verb in the sentence should agree with the subject to which it is closest. Let us see this with an example. Either my teachers or the author of this book is wrong. So, over here there are two subjects because there are two clauses, two independent clauses. My teachers, this is the one first subject and the author is the second subject. Now again there is a verb. What is that verb? That verb is. So over here the verb is closest to which subject? To which subject? Author. Okay. So author is which number? It is singular. It is a singular noun. That is, it's showing one number. So if we have a singular noun, we will have a singular verb. If we have a singular noun, we will have a singular verb. Correct? So either my teachers, teachers is plural, or the author, author is singular. So either my teachers or the author of this book is wrong. I am using the verb as a singular verb. What is the rule? Verb in the sentence should agree with the subject to which it is closest. So is closest to author. Is far away from teachers. Hence the verb, it is closer to author. Author is singular. Hence I am using a singular verb. Similarly in the next sentence, see, now author is far. Teacher is close. Teachers is plural and the verb are, it is closer to teachers. Now teachers is plural. Plural subject will always take a plural noun. Plural verb. Plural subject, plural verb. Clear? So please remember this, that in correlative conjunctions, when you are using word pairs, when you are using the pairs of correlative conjunctions, please remember that the subject which is closest to the verb will affect the number of the verb. The verb will be plural if the subject is plural to which it is closest. Okay, and the verb will be singular if it is closest to the singular verb. So through these two sentences, I am sure it is clear to you. Either my teachers or the author of this book is wrong. Author singular verb, hence it has taken, author singular subject, hence it has taken singular verb. And either the author of this book or my teachers are wrong. My teachers is closest to the verb. My teachers is plural, hence the verb is also plural. Clear? Okay. Now coming to subordinating conjunctions. This is the third type of conjunctions that we are looking into. We use these conjunctions before the dependent or subordinate clauses in complex sentences. So remember children, when I was telling you about dependent clauses, I had told that the dependent clause begins with a conjunction which I will be teaching you now. See, these conjunctions also show how the dependent or the subordinate clause is connected to the independent or the main clause. Okay. As Sherry blew out the candles atop her birthday cake, she caught her hair on fire. Now, there are two clauses in this sentence. One is the dependent clause and the other is the independent clause. Which is the independent clause? She caught her hair on fire. So, if I cut out the entire section from as Sherry blew out the candles atop her birthday cake till cake, if I cancel out that particular part, she caught her hair on fire is complete in itself. It is a complete sentence. It is an independent clause. Correct? So that is our independent clause. Now coming to the dependent or the subordinate clause. What is dependent clause? Remember, it has a subject, it has a verb, but it is not complete in its own. So if I say as Sherry blew out the candles atop her birthday cake and end the sentence there, will it make a sense? it will not make a complete sense. That is why we have to add the independent clause in order to make the sentence complete. Hence, when I read the full sentence, as Sherry blew out the candles atop her birthday cake, she caught her hair on fire. So, as becomes my dependent uh, word, that is the subordinating conjunction, which we begin the sentence with, and this subordinating conjunction makes this full section of the sentence the dependent clause. Okay, so whenever there is a dependent clause, you will have to remember that that dependent clause will always begin with a subordinating conjunction. Dependent clause will always begin with a subordinating conjunction. Again, in the same page, the second example, just see, he inspires me always because he believes in me. Again, there are two clauses. One is the independent, the other is the dependent. Let us identify which is the independent clause. Obviously, it is the first part of the sentence. How? He inspires me always. If I put a full stop after always, the sentence is complete in itself. If I cancel out the rest of the sentence, does not make a difference to the first part. Why? Because the first part is complete in itself. He inspires me always. If I put a full stop there. So that is my independent clause, that is my complete sentence. But I am adding more information to this sentence. How? By adding a dependent clause. And what is my dependent clause? Because he believes in me. Now, if I remove the first part of the sentence, he inspires me always. Now, if I begin the sentence with because he believes in me, is this sentence complete in itself? No. But this sentence has a subject and a verb, correct? So, the subject is he and the verb is believes, right? But since I am beginning this dependent clause with a subordinating conjunction, and which is that subordinating conjunction? Because. Because is the subordinating conjunction with which I am beginning the dependent clause. So, dependent clause will not have a meaning of its own. It will depend on the independent clause for meaning. It is only when I add the dependent clause that the dependent clause gets meaning. So it is only when I add he inspires me always because he believes in me, the sentence becomes complete. The dependent clause becomes complete in meaning. Clear? So, subordinating conjunctions, they come at the beginning of a dependent clause, and they, when added to an independent clause, make the dependent clause complete in meaning. Clear? So, subordination means one below the other. Okay, one is higher in position, then the other is lower in position. So, independent clause is definitely higher in position, it is complete in its own self. Dependent clause is lower, it is subordinate, it is lower in rank to the independent clause. It is dependent on the independent clause for meaning. So, subordination emphasizes the idea in the main clause more than the one in the subordinate clause. So, obviously main clause means independent clause, that is independent clause is more important and complete in meaning than the subordinate clause or the dependent clause, which is incomplete in meaning. Now, generally, how do we write a sentence with a subordinate conjunction, subordinating conjunction? So, first we will have the main clause or the independent clause, then we will have the subordinating conjunction in between, and then again we will have the subordinate clause or the dependent clause. For example, the crowd became violent. This is my main clause, independent clause. Why? Because this sentence is complete in itself. Correct? Now, then I add subordinating conjunction even though, and then I add my subordinate or dependent clause. There were hundreds of policemen. So the crowd became violent even though there were hundreds of policemen. So if I break the sentence into the crowd became violent, put a full stop there, the sentence becomes complete. Again, if I take the second part of the sentence, even though there were hundreds of policemen. See, even though there were hundreds of policemen in this sentence, even though is my subordinating conjunction with which my dependent clause begins. So even though there were hundreds of policemen becomes my dependent clause. Why? Because we have subject hundreds of policemen, we have a verb were, okay, but we do not have a complete thought. It is only when I add this section, even though there were hundreds of policemen, to the section, the crowd became violent, then only the sentence becomes complete, and the sentence will read as the crowd became violent even though there were hundreds of policemen. So there was this particular crowd which was very very angry, and there were policemen to control the crowd. So many policemen were there, still the crowd was angry, police could not control the crowd. This is the meaning of the sentence, okay. And the sentence structure goes like this: the crowd became violent, main clause, independent clause which has a meaning of its own, it has a complete thought, and the dependent clause, even though there were hundreds of policemen, beginning with a subordinating conjunction, and the rest is the dependent clause, okay. When added to the independent clause, the sentence becomes complete. Now there is another way of writing this particular sentence, that is, we begin the sentence with the dependent clause along with the subordinating conjunction, okay. So we will have the subordinating conjunction first, then followed by the dependent clause. Dependent clause in itself includes the subordinating conjunction, then we will follow it with a comma, and then we will write the main clause. So see this example, second one: since the time her son went abroad for studies, she felt very lonely. Now, if I put a full stop after studies instead of the comma, and I remove the rest later part of the sentence, so if the sentence becomes like, since the time her son went abroad for studies, is the sentence complete? No, the sentence will not be complete. Although there is a subject, her son, there is a verb, went, and there is my subordinating conjunction, since. But this entire group of words is my dependent clause whose meaning is not complete until it is added to the independent clause. So, dependent clause depends on, relies on, falls for support on the independent clause, and which is that she has felt very lonely. So this in itself is complete, a complete thought, both has a subject and a verb, independent clause, she has felt very lonely. So if we join the dependent and the independent clause together along with the subordinating conjunction, the sentence becomes complete. Clear? Now coming to some types of coordinating conjunctions according to comparison, time, concession, reason, condition. These are a few things which you need to remember. These are the types of coordinating conjunctions and the moments when they are used, okay. So when we use comparison, we use than, rather than, whether, as much as, okay. When we use subordinating conjunction for time, we use after, as soon as, until, whenever, now that. Concession, though, although. Then we have relative pronouns, who, whoever, whom, whomever, whose. Reason, because, since, so that. So these are a few subordinating conjunctions which you have to remember very thoroughly. Okay, and you have to also remember the types, that is which comes under what headings. That is, though comes under concession, and only if unless comes under condition, and then rather than comes under comparison, and wherever comes under place. So these particular details you have to remember. Coming to a few examples of subordinating conjunctions. So let us see. My father believes that I should be a writer. So that I should be a writer. Okay. This is my dependent clause, begins with that, and my father believes is my independent clause. He works so hard that he can provide everything we need. I trust him because he is a trustworthy person. My life will be blessed if I fulfill his dreams. He will always support me whether I succeed or not. I started writing when I was 8. So, in this sentence, see, I started writing. This is my independent clause. When I was 8. This is my dependent clause beginning with the subordinating conjunction. And if I divide this sentence, I started writing when I was 8 in these two parts, then you will see the first part, I started writing, is complete in itself. When I was 8 is incomplete. Why? Because it is a dependent clause and the meaning of the sentence is not complete. It is only when I add to I started writing, then only its meaning is complete. So I started writing when I was 8 is the complete sentence. Though I tried to be free with them, they did not seem to like me. Alex and Sean became my best friends after I had admitted to college. Again, say in this sentence, Alex and Sean became my best friends. If I put a full stop after friends, the sentence is complete in itself. So that is my independent clause. After I had admitted to college. What is the meaning of this sentence? After I had admitted to college. What did I do after I had admitted to college? So, unless I add the dependent clause after I had admitted to college to my independent clause, Alex and Sean became my best friends, the sentence is incomplete. So, Alex and Sean became my best friends after I had admitted to college. They came to talk to me as soon as I entered the classroom. It was a long time since someone had come to talk with me on their own. They were older than I. So again, than, see, for comparison, they were older than I. So than I, my dependent clause, they were older, independent clause. If I am adding both together, it becomes a complete sentence. Right? So that's it for clauses, phrases, and conjunctions. I've taken the help of a few websites like grammar.com, purdue.edu, kentlaw.edu, learngrammar.net. So these are a few websites which I have referred to, and they have helped me in making this video. So that's it for this video. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.